that's how easy it is to get lost in the desert.
Yeah.
And then the heat sneaks up on you. And then you're sick. And then you're really lost. You're dizzy. You're throwing up. You don't know where you're at. Boom. Death. Be careful. We can wander our way over, because this is Wandering Ways.
What's Bigfoot possibility?
Clink.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Something new every week, huh? We really got to figure out like the next step after the clink, because we got to welcome our guests, right? Somehow we got to say, hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another great episode. We love you. And then we got to get into it because we just kind of say like, hey, how's it going? How are you? Kind of awkward. Like we weren't talking before we started recording.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there is a thing. It could be, I don't know. What's up, everybody? I
don't know. We'll think about it. Maybe one of you guys, because we got some cool shit for you guys today, especially cool shit in nature. We got some questions coming up. And part of those questions is you could send us a question to say like, hey, maybe you guys should open up like this. Like, I want to feel like I'm being welcomed to the campfire with you guys. How can we make that, campfire feeling a little bit more better for you?
I'm going to go full on like camp counselor. Like, alrighty, campers, we're going to get this one started.
Right? Like, I'm thinking like Smokey the Bear hugs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good times, times. I mean, it just makes me think, being out this summertime out by the campfires, I'm out on the river. Whenever I get out on the water, I really like to, I'll start a fire, I'll have a fire going, get some of the brush, the leaves, and some of the undergrowth kind of burning while I'm fishing, because you never know if you're going to need a fire or just something nice to have. It kind of keeps the mosquitoes down, I've learned, because they don't like the smoke, and if you get that smoke going, and I love a good smell of the campfire, and I love being out on the water. I love getting it going, and that's what I've been up to. I know you've been up to biking. It seems like that's all you've been doing.
No, I haven't been biking.
I know, you're mad.
No, my bike's still in the shop. So I haven't biked. I've been running. And then today I actually got into the pool to swim, which I was super stoked about. But I'm tired from that.
Dude, I love swimming. Like in Hawaii, I like to swim. I was a swimmer. I have the shoulders of a swimmer. Like, sorry.
Yeah. I'm not a good swimmer. But I just like learned swimming to survive. I never did swim team or like any kind of competitive swimming whatsoever. It was more like, can you get from the middle of a lake to the side of the lake type stuff?
And to really honestly, if you want to save yourself that extra struggle, that extra workout, I think my just quick advice for you is go streamline. Think streamline, think, currents, think breaking through the water, kind of, even when you're pulling on the stroke, how you can make your hands move smaller and thinner in the water so it's less strain on your body.
The way my mind works, all I think about is like different vectors, like force vectors of different things that are happening. So like I do actually think that a lot. I know I probably still don't have very good form, but the whole streamline kind of like, my first is like, all right, think about the forces.
Well, and you really want to stretch yourself out as like long and skinny as possible. And I think, you reach, and when your hand is above the water, right? Another part of the thing is when you're doing that freestyle above the water, you almost want to keep your hand above the water for as long as possible, because once it hits that water, you're slowing yourself down. The air you're moving a little bit quicker through. So that's part of that freestyle, is like making sure that reach is fully extended, because then you get lazy sometimes. Like, as you get tired, you start getting lazier, your elbows start dropping, you're falling into the water, and you're doing more work.
It was a solid. I was pretty stoked to get back in the pool. It's been a hot minute. It was a real solid workout. I'm tired now, so I'll be going hopefully again here soon. Um,
Yeah.
but let's hop into, before we get into the meat of today's podcast, we want to get you going with what sparked the meat of the podcast. And that is questions from our wanderers.
Yeah, our fellow wanderers hitting us up with questions on the Instagrams, the emails, the Facebooks, just shoot them our way. We love it. We love hearing from you guys and we love giving you our answers. I think we got one from the Rougarou. Someone reached out to the Jeep, holla holla at your Bigfoot research vehicle. One from the Facebook, and I think you got one emailed to you at WANDERINGWAYSPODCAST at gmail.com. That was Wandering Ways Podcast at gmail.com that he received that question at.
Yes. But anyways, we're gonna do 3 total questions, but the last question in the segment is what really sparked what we will talk about. So not to spoil anything, you got to keep listening.
Right.
First question comes from Brian in Montana.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to your 406 boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach's pretty happy we have someone from Montana listening. That's not family.
I know my family doesn't listen because we talk shit about them. Isn't that right, Tyler? You poop sock.
Yeah. But anyways, Brian asks, so he says you guys say go early to beat the crowds, but does late afternoon / early evening work for beating those crowds as well?
Oh, 100%. I think the crowds are a little bit bigger in the afternoon as compared to the morning, but you'll still get those quality time and shot. I just think because it's evening, more people will be up naturally, whereas early in the morning they're not.
Yeah, you could definitely beat the crowds, but I think you like you said, you're gonna have a little bit more people than you would in like the mornings. But I mean, you'll drastically beat some crowds. I remember when we were in Banff National Park in Canada with Phil and Vince, we did this one hike that was right from a visitor center, like really late in the evening, and we were like the only ones. So it was pretty crazy.
I mean, I've done, say, the Beartooth Pass, right? Middle of the day, on Memorial Day weekend, you have skiers skiing up and down it, right? All day long, hundreds of people, right? Go into the park, come right back out of the park. It's just me up on top of the Beartooths. There's no cars, there's no more people. There's some mountain goats. The sun's setting. So yeah, I was up when I filmed that comet or took pictures of the comet.
That's a little different because it's the middle of the night.
But you would think during a celestial event like that, above, that's the close, your largest population center's Billings. The highest elevation point would be those Beartooths, right? There were there were 2 other photographers up there when I was there. And that's a lot, but I was still by myself essentially.
Yeah. It's still kind of the middle of the night, not really like late afternoon, early.
But if you're in Hawaii at Mauna Kea, I mean, obviously that you're that high up, you're going to have thousands more of people up there, I bet, for the comet.
That's not a time of day issue, though. I would say.
I was just using the Beartooth as an example, as like, I've been there at.
I mean, I get you were going at. I think it's a little off from Brian's question, but I mean, it goes to show you you can beat crowds a lot of different ways, and you totally can in the late afternoon / early evening.
Well, and I think you could beat the crowds too, even in the crowded locations, right? Like I take, for example, Old Faithful. For that one, time of year. If you go early or later in time of year, you're going to have a more peaceful Old Faithful. Time of day, even though. When me, you, Kaz, and Theo went, we essentially had Old Faithful to ourselves a couple eruptions later in the day because we stayed right there and no one else really was out watching them.
That's true.
So you do, but then we've been there on the days where you want to go sit on the other side, but you're still sitting next to people on the other side. That's how many people are there. So yes, time of day helps. I think about what you want to do, how crowded it's going to get. Because even then, you can hit visitor centers early in the morning, and there'll be less people there.
Yeah. No, 100%. You can. So there you go, Brian. Next question we got coming from Matthew in the state of Texas.
Nice.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas except for maybe this question. It's not that big. But anyways, Matthew is asking at Arches National Park, if at the opening of the park, should he go to Delicate Arch first or the Devil's Garden? And he's mainly asking due to parking, crowds, I guess more parking availability at Delicate Arch versus Devil's Garden.
And I think how we talked about this, because this one was a good question, real good question, because Arches National Park is close to Moab. So you're near a population center that a lot of people want to go to because Moab's the 4x4 ATV and off-road capital of the America, probably. People love that. It's got it all. It's got the mountains, got everything. People are going to Arches. So you're going to get a lot of people. National park numbers are up. You're going to get a lot of people. The iconic views, the Delicate Arch is on the license plate. It's on the stickers. It's on the billboards. It's on the, the signs when you enter the state of Utah because it's iconic to Utah. So a lot of people are going to want to do it, just like Angels Landing in Zion. It's going to be a demand. So we said, take it early. Probably do that one first because during the day, people are going to do it. It's going to be colder. It's a hot hike. But that Devil's Garden too. I mean, you've actually gotten able to spend time there and you kind of said, do Delicate Arch, get it out of the way, get your iconic views. People will be there. Not as much if you go early enough and then hit the garden and spend time there.
Yeah, my thought was go Delicate Arch first. If you're going for the parking availability and stuff, because that it is more popular. Now you might be able towards again later in the day, like after the meat of the day, you might have a better shot at getting some good parking in there. But I mean, again, that's kind of towards the end of the day, and you may not because people want to see that sunset with the Delicate Arch too. So, my recommendation was go Delicate Arch first. It's a short hike. You can see it, check it out, get in the car, head up to Devil's Garden. It's a bigger parking lot, and I actually think people are filtering in and out of there a little bit more. So when I went, we were in the middle of the day, and we had no issue getting a parking spot there. And then there's more to see, more to like go and hike to in Devil's Garden. You're going to want to make sure you have water. But, there's more to go see. It is kind of cooler kind of hike because it turns into like no specific trail. It's kind of like you're just out in the middle of the desert walking. That's why they have those stacked rocks to help you.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point because they're called cairns and they're used for the trails out there in the desert. So don't build them.
Yeah, or knock them down.
Yeah, don't build them where they're not supposed to be because they are for trails.
Yeah, we actually ended up getting lost. We couldn't find our way. Luckily, it was Vince and I, and luckily we ran into some girl who was also lost. We found our way together.
There you go.
Don't remember her name, but I remember she just graduated from UConn. So
nice.
Yeah. She was.
What's nice is people, well, not, I shouldn't say what's nice. What people don't understand is that that's how easy it is to get lost in the desert.
Yeah.
And then the heat sneaks up on you. And then you're sick. And then you're really lost. You're dizzy. You're throwing up. You don't know where you're at. Boom. Death. Be careful.
Become a statistic.
Exactly. Don't be that statistic. Don't be another Californian.
But yeah. So my tip, Delicate Arch first, Devil's Garden second. So there you go. Hopefully that helps, Matthew.
Yeah.
But anyways, you have actually the third question.
Yeah, shout out to the Rougarou, the Wandering Ways official Bigfoot research vehicle out there looking for Bigfoot and driving from place to place, putting a lot of miles on. But we got a message there from Miriam from Oregon. She wants to know, what are some good camping areas, some safe camping areas. Later in the conversation, we talked about safety because she's going to be doing this trip with a friend. They're both females and they want that protection, or at least places to feel where like they can feel safe together camping. And I totally understand and get that. Especially if you've never been somewhere like that before. It's your first time going and you're excited, but you're nervous as well. So I get that. Specifically, the areas they're going to are Bryce and Zion. So I'll let you kind of get into it. You spent some time in Utah around both those parks, a couple times actually. Because I've only stayed in the hotels at Zion and the one campground you and I stayed at in Bryce. But I know you have some experience with the BLM land there, as well as the various other campsites.
Yeah, BLM land. I mean, most of it you can camp on it, like dispersed camping for free. So you can find your own little like nook and cranny by yourself and camp. And then some BLM lands do have campsites and stuff, and they're pretty relatively cheap, like $20 for the night. Is about what you would pay.
I'd say BLM's probably the cheapest of all.
By far, it's the cheapest. And there's some private. I mean, the one we stayed at in Bryce was a good camping.
Yeah, it had showers. I think it even had like a pool and hot tub and RV hookups. So it's a bigger one. They have a camp host. So there's that kind of stuff if you want that. I always recommend national parks. If you ever get a chance to camp in the national park, that's pretty great. Those sites are well managed.
Yeah, that's when I stayed in Zion with Vince, we were in the park itself. We were lucky enough to like basically get into Zion at the crack of dawn. So we were one of the first come, first serve spots.
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the podcast. I still haven't talked about Tyler and his glacier trip because they were trying to do something like that up there. And that's something, when you do get to these parks, they have a lot of first come, first serve camp sites. And when you're in national parks, it's the $12, $20 a night. It's cheap. BLM, very cheap. The public lands, very cheap campsites. But when you get to the private ones, yeah, you get up in that $20 to $50 even sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and that it just varies based on the area, how many there are. You can be in Lingle, Wyoming, and find a campground, and it'd be quite interesting. But I would say Bryce, go for national park in Bryce. It's a very safe area, small towns nearby, or the private one right outside the park's pretty nice too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of decent places to stay. I mean, along all of the Utah 5 there's a lot of good places to stay.
Yeah, and there's a ton of BLM land.
Yeah, that's very true. Ton of BLM, and staying in the BLM camping can be nice because it really like you can really get like just yourself in the right spot. So it's pretty common to also see some van lifers out in the BLM lands too. But yeah, no, it's fantastic to use. But yeah, so that question's what sparked the meat of today. And the meat of today is we're focusing in on clusters of national parks. So we're going to be doing a few of these where we talk about like groups of national parks that you could do in one trip, one kind of swing. So that way, if you maybe only get that 1 week out of the year for vacation and you're like, I want to go do some national park kind of trips, get a whole bunch of them in one kind of area. What are some good ones? So we'll be doing a bunch of those, but we are starting with a common one. You probably have some friend that just loves to brag that he's done the Utah 5.
Right. And it's how you do the Utah 5. I think it's however you want.
But yeah, it's the grand scheme of it. It is however
Right.
you want.
Because my reasoning for it is like a lot of people want to do it all in one. A lot of people do plan it all in one because it is doable. Families, they take a couple weeks off in the summer, do a road trip. This is one of the things you hear and see people do. With some add-ons every once in a while, which I'm excited for. We'll get into this and talk about some cool, like the shit we did. We did the Utah 5 on our 12 parks in 12 days epic journey. And what I like about how we did the Utah 5 is we did treat it as its own segment because we kind of broke, when we went into Colorado kind of afterwards, we kind of made that a different part of the trip. We didn't do as much outdoor activities as we did in the Utah 5 because we hit the Utah 5 hard.
Yeah, that is true. We did kind of break it up more that way. But yeah, we're going to talk through the park, the Utah 5, in the order that we did it in when we did do all those parks. Know that you can do it any other. It's very common to do the complete reverse of what we did as well. So that's beautiful part about the Utah 5 is you can mix and match and you can add a lot into it too. And we'll talk about add-ons as well. Yeah. But the first one we're going to do is Zion National Park. That's our first stop in the Utah 5, and we will be heading east. But Zion is that first stop, and Zion, we have not done a breakdown of Zion, which we probably could. But yeah, Zion is, it's incredible. I've been there twice, loved each time. I did the big two, Narrows and Angel's Landing. If I had a recommendation for you to hit, I'd probably go Narrows more.
Yeah, I want to do the Narrows when I'm down there. I'm seeing some pictures of Zion and Angel's Landing, and I didn't realize how much we did when we did do Angel's Landing. It's a lot of strain on people. People think it's kind of easy. Walter's Wiggles is a feat in itself, and I think a lot of people take such an accomplishment to like just doing that and getting to that first kind of bathroom stop there, which is really cool. But sorry to talk about that. I just am admiring our feat of climbing Angel's Landing.
Angel's Landing is a doozy of a hike.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. You got to go into that one more than just like, we're going to do Angel's Landing.
Well, and I think with the way it's become popularized with Zion and Zion's proximity to Las Vegas, right? A lot of these people that come into the park, this is the first park in Utah 5, they're coming in through Vegas, or they're coming up from the Grand Canyon. That's what we did. We came up from the Grand Canyon, went to Horseshoe Bend, Lake Powell on our way over, and got to Zion. And that's one of the things people are looking first to do is Angel's Landing or the Narrows. All the t-shirts have the shit on it. All the social media posts are that. I recommend doing them if you really want to do them. They're dangerous. They're both very dangerous. You can get flash flooding in the Narrows. You can get, people have died off Angel's Landing. 6 people, I think, have fallen off. It's steep. You're standing on the cliff.
6. They have a whole thing.
Maybe it was like since 2010 or something, 6 or something.
Yeah, they get quite a few.
Yeah, people died.
Yeah. I am told, I'm not 100% sure, but I am also told that on top of like the canyon itself is like BLM land, and you can like do some camping up there. So going back to the question that led into this, and it's right now, if you can camp on top, I think if I go back, which I want to, I'd try and get a camping site up there.
That's a good idea. I think that'd be fun. It'd be great.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, that's I mean, a lot of stuff you can do in Zion. Most of it's really good. Narrows and Angel's Landing are just the big ones. So
yeah.
anytime you can get up in the canyon, you're gonna have a blast.
Well, and I think there's a lot of hidden gems in these parks. You know, you see the ones because the Instagrams and the Facebooks, but there's like, you know, the new one in Zion I'm seeing a lot more of is the subway hike.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's turning into a popular one, which I think it's a good one. Great to do. But usually then if you're moving on from Zion, or staying there, you take a beautiful drive to the next park, and you cross some of the Grand Staircase Escalante BLM land, which I recommend exploring. I think there's a lot more hidden gems on that just because it's so remote and just a lot of nothingness that it really hasn't been explored to its fullest extent, as well as shared to its fullest extent. Because there's some pretty shit I've seen out of Grand Staircase.
Yeah. 100%. I think Grand Staircase Escalante is kind of the hidden gem of that area, the the forgotten child, because it is so, it's in between two of the Utah five, so easy to forget about it. But I think it's the gem. I haven't checked it out.
Oh, I want to. I when I worked for the BLM, I remember seeing pictures that were like, "Take me there."
Yeah,
Um,
but you go through it to the other park, Bryce
yeah,
Canyon.
beautiful drive. I
Really,
think that highway is one of the most scenic highways in America. Coming into Bryce is gorgeous. The red
yeah,
rocks.
Bryce is really cool. Um, I want to do more in Bryce. I want to like hike down into the canyon. Um, been to a few different points along the canyon itself. It's gorgeous.
I think it's just kind of where it's at in a lot of people's journeys, including our own. Is it kind of is a day stop type park where it needs to be a night stop where you do an event in it and then stay the night versus like, hey, we're camping here that night, we get there that night, we don't
Supposed to be great stargazing too. So
yeah.
that's another reason maybe to stay and stay the night at Bryce is do some stargazing.
But I think how the Wandering Ways team, as we talk kind of what we've talked about is when we do these parks next, we kind of want to spend more time in each one. Whereas, we do, maybe we're doing 2-3 nights in Zion and Bryce. We're not going to do the Utah 5 in that order. We're going to do a couple of nights in each one to get these experiences because I think there's a lot to offer.
Yeah. Well, I think that adds to like, the two kinds of trips into it, to do the Utah five, if you did 2, 3 nights at each park, that's a long time and not everybody can get that much time off. So being able to do these like clusters, maybe that only are the week, you're going to have to sacrifice certain parts of it to make it work.
But I
Um,
think you could emphasize the point of you can really if you, in each one of these parks, if there's something you want to hit in each one, you can.
yes.
And I think that's what I like about these clusters is because you're most likely hitting the major points.
Yeah.
But if you want to take the time and kind of like what we did, where it's like we spent a little bit of time in Rocky Mountain and Bryce, we just kind of hit the scenic points, but we really took our time when it came to like Canyonlands or Arches because we took those longer hikes.
Yeah. Or
Um,
Badlands or
yeah, exactly.
Zion. Um, Capitol Reef was another quick one for us.
Um,
Um, but
but
before we keep moving on in this cluster, um, probably the largest distance to travel between parks is Bryce to Capitol, or is it
Yeah.
capital to Arches?
So right here, I kind of did it some timing, right? So if you're going from Zion to Bryce, you're looking at about an hour and a half, hour and a half drive, right? Capitol Reef to Bryce, right? That's the longest one. I think that's a beautiful drive because of the mountain pass you take. So depending on the time of the year, be careful because you might encounter snow. But it's 2.5 hours of a
Is
drive.
that's longer than Capitol Reef to like Canyonlands or Arches?
Yeah, Capitol Reef to Canyonlands is 2 hours 15 minutes.
What is it
Um,
to Arches?
Probably I would add another 15, 20, so about
Well,
two and a
because
half.
Canyonlands has that one part that you can get from that side. So if you did the time, did it go to that short side or did it go
Yeah,
to like the Moab side?
it went to the Moab side because I did Island in the Sky,
Oh,
where
okay, okay.
where a lot of people are going is Island in the Sky.
Well,
Uh,
that it makes a difference in timing to get there.
yeah, well, that one goes through Moab. It goes all the way through Moab and down.
Yeah.
But no, two Canyonlands where Island in the Sky is. It's about 2 hours 15 minutes from Capitol Reef. So it's about I would say about the same because that 15-minute road is going to be what the difference from that highway to Moab is, or
Yeah.
Moab to Arches is. So you're looking about 215 to that area,
Okay.
which isn't bad. I mean, it's
No.
beautiful. You're doing a lot of interstate on that one. But I think
Not bad distances for any of those parks, though.
no, and I think that's why it makes the cluster and
Yeah.
why you can do these in, we did it in essentially 3 days, 2 days,
Yeah, essentially.
3.5.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
no, well, we woke up at Lake Powell, Zion, stayed the night in Bryce, Capitol Reef, Canyonland, or Arches that day, stayed the night in Moab, Canyonlands that morning, and then to Colorado. So it was like 3 full days in Utah,
Yeah.
probably, which is
Um,
which is doable. We hit them all. We spent time and did things in each one. We did the whale hike in Canyonlands. We did the
yeah,
Island in the
yeah.
Sky.
We did. Before we jump into talking more about Capitol Reef, thank you, Wanderers, for checking us out. Make sure that you are hitting that like button, that subscribe button, leaving us a review on the iTunes, on the Spotify's, or wherever that you are checking out this podcast today. We really appreciate it. Any kind of feedback, we love it. Make sure to check out the YouTube so you can see our beautiful faces instead of just listening to those beautiful voices. But hit the like and subscribe button there too to see all of the fun Wandering Ways stuff.
Yeah, on the YouTube too. Make sure to check out those videos like Mark's amazing 30-day road trip where he lived out of the back of a Jeep. And if you want to commemorate it, go ahead and pick yourself up that Wandering Ways swag. In the Linktree bio, click the swag button. If you're just on YouTube or Google or some sort of thing, go teespring.com/wandering ways. You'll find us. You'll find socks. You'll find shirts. You'll find whatever you want to put our logo on, and you can have it for sure.
And maybe you only like one of the Wandering Ways team members here, and you want to check out maybe just me personally, because obviously I might be the better one. Check me out, Reverend Marcus, on the Instagram, on the Twitter. I got some fun stuff there.
Hey, and you might be into Jeeps. You could check out my Jeep, the Rougarou. You might be into adventures. Check out Zach of Wandering Ways. Who knows? You can find it all with us at Wandering Ways, the nature podcast.
Yeah, let's keep wandering on. It's a good point to show some cool shit in nature.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, maybe we should get a jingle or like something for when we hit cool shit in nature. It's like,
I know it's gotta be like
ding,
some roars, some lion roars, some
something.
gorillas. I don't know. Ooh, rock slide.
Yeah, but this one's a rock slide, and watching it just destroy a road.
Dang, you guys gotta check this out on the YouTube. Look at this.
Yeah, it is actually pretty nuts. We have some good, cool shit in nature lined up for a while. I'm not gonna lie.
Good. I'm excited. I'm excited to see them. I like when we have the guests.
I do
because
too.
their comments are kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you guys can comment if you see it on the YouTube. It's just a nice little rock slide that just takes out a road. I guess it's a huge rock slide, I should say, because the angle of the photo is actually kind of far away.
Yeah. I mean, it destroys that road.
That's nuts.
Yeah. But um, can happen anywhere. Rock slides, avalanches. Um, there's a lot of cool stuff like that that happens. That's scary. It's cool to see.
Can happen to you and I.
Yeah, it could. It could. It could. But jumping back into the U top five, we left off in this train. This tour bus, we left off at Capitol Reef.
Right. And what I like about this is that's a beautiful drive from Bryce to Capitol Reef.
It,
Take the scenic route. I think there's a bypass where you can kind of go back and take the interstate or highway down,
yeah.
but take the scenic route.
Yeah. Um, I think so too. And make sure you go to Capitol Reef. You know, when Vince and I did it, Capitol Reef's our biggest regret on that trip. We thought we were going to go to Civilization, get some real food at a store, ended up just finding like the smallest town in the world and having like cheap diner food, which was fine. But we missed Capitol Reef because we did that. And both of us wish we would have hit Capitol Reef. And when you
Well,
and I did it, I made a point we did do something in Capitol Reef because I
and
really,
I'm glad you did. Because that was a nice hike. It was a hike to another like sandstone arch
yeah.
made there in the desert. We saw some lizards and stuff on the hike. Got some beautiful views of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Which from my understanding, and every time I hear and talk about Capitol Reef, is you just need to go do some of the backcountry, go to some of the dirt roads, take those paths to get there because of how the park's designed, where it's at remotely. It's a very remote area. So there's not a lot of services nearby. There's not a lot of big towns. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
people even going there. The visitor center is a small shack,
Yeah.
and that's the main one.
You know, so I think if you're, when you're doing this, you know, I would probably a day and a half in Capitol Reef.
Honestly,
Um,
I would say so.
yeah. So I would make, I wouldn't necessarily say this should be your longest stop, but depending on your time, how much time you are devoting, you know, but this park does need some time for you to really kind of get that awe um, and beauty of Capitol Reef because it's there. We just have to go and look for it, which is a beautiful thing about a park. It's not always just nice to pull your car up and go, ooh, ah, and then drive off.
Well, and I think that's something that I kind of have against glacier people. Like that
What do you
bugs
mean?
me with Glacier Park because on social media, all you see are the pull up in your car and the ooh ah moments, right? I'm
Yeah,
at Lake McDonald. Here's the picture of the rocks. I'm at Hidden Lake Lookout because it's a boardwalk. I'm at um where else in the park is a highlight? Oh, I'm at Avalanche Lake. The easy hikes, which I'm not saying there's not anything wrong with that. Go experience it, do it. But I think like where I get that essence and beauty of really where what makes Glacier the national park that it is that backcountry stuff. And I could only imagine in a place like Capitol Reef taking that backcountry and those other hard to reach places of like why it's a national park and really like admiring that. And I think because of how it's designed, you have to be kind of more adventurous to do so. And I recommend if you are more adventurous to get off the beaten path, to do the backcountry, to get on the dirt roads, and really experience this park for what it has to offer. Because
yeah.
I,
I
I
wouldn't
think,
necessarily like it with a Capitol Reef say you have to do a backcountry thing. If you want to do a regular campground, I think you just need to make sure that you're not just doing a smaller esque hike. You may have to do a little bit longer, or you may have to take a road to get to the trailhead that's a little bit more difficult. You just got to kind of expand the area that and really try and push into nooks and crannies that maybe don't really get touched a whole lot.
Yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it. Because it's not necessarily um, getting in the back country, but it's getting in, getting off the main roads.
Yeah, you're gonna have
Um,
to do some searching, but it's there. But that's what makes it unique as well. So when you are going to Capitol Reef, take some time, really kind of enjoy the park for itself. Um, and I think it will be a special time for you.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. But anyways, continuing on this tour on the tour bus of the Utah 5, we're going to make our next stop. I think you can flip flop these next two. You can
Yeah.
do any order because they are fairly close to each other. Moab, Utah is a great home base. A lot of stuff. If you do make Moab your home base, you may want to start Arches first just because it's closer. Or you may just want to get Canyonlands because it's a little farther away from Moab. Get that park done and good, and then go to the closer one to Moab.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about Arches first because that's the way we did it. It's just the way we wanted to do it. No real rhyme or reason.
I think it was just kind of like, let's do this one. So tomorrow, when we do the other one, we have more time to really dedicate to it if we want to dedicate the time to it.
Yeah.
Because you have not, we neither of us had been to Canyonlands. You had been to Arches, um, which I would say Moab is a good base to make, but you could make either campground in those national parks or even the BLM land around there a base for both of these
Yeah.
parks. I think these are two parks. If you want to take some separate time to spend, say, like a week at, you can really maximize your time at both of them. And if you've made a base in that area, which I like about these two, because I think what Arches has to offer is, you have the iconic hikes, the easy hikes to get to in Arches. But then there's that, like you said, that Devil's Garden and some more stuff you can really get in and explore and find some cool stuff.
Yeah. I think if out of those two, if you want to spend more time in one, I'd say Canyonlands over Arches because
Yeah.
it's bigger. There's more stuff to explore and see. Arches, you could really get a full fill of Arches in a day, 2 day, or I'd say day and a half to two. Because seeing the delicate arch is like there, you're going to drive by Balancing Rock and then getting into the Devil's Garden area. You can get your fill of arches within that day and a half to 2 days. But
Well, and it's a smaller park.
yeah, that's why it's a smaller park compared to.
And what's crazy is like how all that arches and stuff and wind happened in that area.
Yeah,
Like,
but yeah, the other arches too. There's like a drive that has a whole bunch of them. That's a good one to do too.
yeah, great park to do that. But I think, yeah, like you said, another reason Canyonlands I think you devote more time to is there's different sections. And it takes different, some places you have a 4x4 vehicle that has four-wheel drive to access. The needles, the areas, the three areas the Canyonlands Park has that is different from one another. I think if you really want to spend some time and get some time in there, it's a big that one's a big park.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is. It is. But you can spend a lot of time there. You can see a lot of cool stuff. Um, Canyonlands was one of the more underrated ones I had coming out of that. I was like, oh, Canyonlands, and then I went and I was like, oh, Canyonlands. so,
right?
so I think it deserves a good amount of time because there's a lot. But in reality, you go to Arches, you're gonna have a hell of a time. You go Canyonlands, you're gonna have a hell of a time. You do any of these Utah 5, whether you want to go the Moab, those two in Moab towards Zion or Zion the other way, totally can do both. If you're coming from like a Salt Lake City, you may want to start in Moab. If you're coming from like a Vegas, you may want to start with Zion type deal. And it may be better to fly out of the opposite city so that way you don't have to backtrack. You can go and catch a flight out of Salt Lake or catch a flight out of Vegas, depending on the route you took.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of crazy stuff you can do because even if you go through Zion or not the Zion way, but the Arches Canyonlands way, you can come out into Monument Valley and loop back to where you began. You know, say if you began in a Phoenix and went to the Grand Canyon first, or you kind of did a loop, you know, like Vegas, you see the Hoover Dam. There's all that cool shit nearby
Yeah.
that people are doing just based on where they're coming from. And, you know, Mesa Verde in Colorado, Dinosaur National Monument's not too far, kind of on the Utah-Colorado border.
Yeah.
Bunch of
Big
cool stuff.
Bend is over there. The north rim of the Grand Canyon or the south rim of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's only Zion to the North Rim is only 2 hours. Extra 4, 4 hours if you want to go to the south.
Yeah. So it's, there's, and then that's near Flagstaff. But there's a lot you can do down there. You can really make the trip you want. Even if you don't do the full Utah 5, you just did 3 of them, but you hit a lot of this stuff in between. Like, man, oh man, you could probably just spend a month down there hitting all of these points, exploring them all.
Yeah, I wish it was the olden days where we could do shit like that a lot easier.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we're going to go to Utah and adventure. Okay, have fun.
Yeah.
See you in a year.
That would be nice. That would be really nice.
Right.
But yeah, so there's a lot to do down in the Utah 5 area. It really varies. It really kind of varies. I would probably say try and get Grand Canyon if you can. I think it's that good. And you could stay in Lake Powell as a stop too, which is a pretty sweet. That was another underrated spot from our trip was Lake Powell.
Well, because I want to hit up like Lower Antelope Canyon on Lake Powell that you can like kayak and do and stuff. Really want to get into some of that cool shit.
Yeah. So that way I think is worth trying to squeeze in if you are going to do all of those Utah 5 parks plus other friends. But yeah, so that's our cluster. It's our tips on that cluster. Like we said, we will be doing more of these, so stay tuned.
Well, and we've also talked about doing some where it's like we have not done certain areas of this country.
Yeah.
We'll dive into like how we would approach it, how we would plan, but knowing that the plan would go wrong.
Exactly, because it always does.
Or sometimes you just hit one of those cute little small towns and you're like, we have to stay here an extra night.
Yeah, I haven't found one of those places yet.
Deadwood, South Dakota didn't do it for you?
No, I was like, we could probably spend less days there. But yeah, so anyways, I have to be that guy.
Of course.
Because I am always that guy, not because I didn't like Deadwood. But we're getting to that point in the episode where it's time for final words. So, final words, my guy.
Wow, I'm kind of lost for words about how excited I was about this episode. No, I'm just kidding. It was great, guys. Thank you for being along with us for the journey and talking about these parks and places to travel with us. Send some questions our way. We love answering them. We have our opinions, and sometimes it's good to bounce your ideas off other people and share, because when we work collaboratively, we grow as people, and we get better with working with one another. The more involvement we have with working with other people, the better outcomes we have, because you can perfect that. You can make changes and you can get better. And I think that's something we need to think about. What are we doing in our daily lives to be better and to get better? Whether that's in nature, whether that's in our daily lives, whatever that may be. I think that's something we need to focus on. What can we be better at? Can we be better at our carbon pollution? Can we be better at recycling? Can we be better at our health? whatever that may be, figure it out. That's all I got.
I dig it. I dig it. Reverend's final words of wisdom here today. Stay beautiful, everybody. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate Brian, Matthew, and I'm feeling really bad because I forgot her name already.
Mariam.
Mariam. Um, Thank you for the questions. We love the questions. Keep the questions coming in. Thanks for watching, listening, whatever, hitting up the Instagrams, all that. You guys are beautiful and keep staying beautiful. Check out some nature. I was talking to Matt Buddy just the other day, and we were talking about reducing the amount of plastic we use in the home, especially around food, for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, the oceans helping out that, trying to pollute less with our plastics. And the other one is just your general health. We're not meant to have the chemicals that make plastic malleable. So you can do a lot of good by switching to other, and maybe try. You don't have to make the full switch today. Just make one small switch, change, see how that goes, to add a little bit more. Every little inch will add up. It's just a little snowball, can turn into a big snowball. You just gotta let it sit there and marinate and get going with it. Last thing. I am probably, at the time this is coming out, I'm probably either just getting done or I'm going to be going to the coast to do a little beach cleanup myself. Just a little personal one. It's nothing crazy. Just so hit out, um, check out the Instas for all that. Maybe you should too go out this weekend and clean up some trash, even if it's only like a 1 square foot thing. Uh, Go out, do it. Just because there's no special day, it's just the end of July, I think, or the beginning of August. The most likely end of July because I'm busy in August. But yeah, that being said, peace out, everybody.
Bye.